Welcome back to the league that means nothing on Go Again Gaming.
So hello and welcome back to Go Again Gaming in the league that means absolutely nothing here on the channel. I'm going to be your host for today. I'm the editor and creator of this whole thing, but getting some time here and there to cast some games. But this should be fun. This is Lynette Natras, who has been with us since Season 2, and Lynette is one of those people that has been on Azalea since the longest time, for as long as I can remember. She cosplayed the character originally, and one of the first people I think of when I think of Azalea, cosplay, and everything else in between. So Lynette has been on loads of different deck lists, loads of different bows, loads of different builds, has tried everything Azalea, so it's good to get her back on today, facing off against Jay Maye, who was Season 3's champion on Vynnset, returning with Vynnset as well. And Zen State Fab, also known as on YouTube. So make sure you go and check out Jay's content on Zen State Fab on YouTube. Anything Vynnset related, he's always there, ready to demonstrate knowledge. But this should be a fun one. Kicking it off in round one. I don't like this match as an Azalea player personally, just because Runeblade does have a lot of armor. Vynnset is got some really good blocking potential, and the fact that she can build up her rune chance and then just potentially block with an entire hand and still come back at you next turn with a horrendous widespread or something along those lines is quite scary. So it's quite hard to get into those exchanges as an Azalea player. You've got things like Face Purgatory to get through as well, and Vynnset, Runeblade, Shadow Runeblade does have a lot of interaction through things like Cull and obviously the widespread cards that I've mentioned already. So going to be quite tough, but we'll see how it goes. Let's get straight down to the gameplay. But before we do so, let's hear a message from one of our sponsors of this round. This game, A League That Means Nothing, is brought to you by FLUKE and Box.com, the premier international source for all Flesh and Blood singles and rip and ship box breaks, with super competitive shipping prices as well, all of which is priced in your local currency on the website for your convenience. Head over to flukeandbox.com and make sure you go and subscribe to Fluke and Box on YouTube as well. Exclusive to the League That Means Nothing, we also have a discount code. That's TLTMN for 15% off your order on flukeandbox.com. That's one use per customer, so make sure you use it. That's discount code TLTMN for 15% off your order on flukeandbox.com. Have a good day, mate. Wallabies. So here we go. Both players drawing up. Lynette using a very old Go Again Gaming Azalea map there, which that piece of art there I got commissioned a while ago. I was actually getting a lot of characters done in that sort of anime style art back then. A lot of you will remember that if you've been following me for the longest time. But Lynette going to start off with a tunic and then a lace with inertia coming in, followed by what looks like a read the glide path. Maybe not. Lace of Inertia, just one of those amazing buffs that allows you to maintain that card advantage by allowing your opponent to have to shuffle their hand and arsenal away and not keep an arsenal card. But this is a good start for Azalea, just getting the Knock the Death Whistle trigger here, going search for any arrow of your choice and getting that dominated on turn one is always something that Azalea players love to find on turn one, is that dominated on hit. Which is either going to demand some equipment or force through that on hit early on and allow you to pick up that steam and keep steamrolling your opponent, hopefully keeping on that tempo. But looking like she's going to go and find a Red in the Ledger, a classic card. One of the main reasons why Azalea has such a cult following, and the fact that I started the Azalea cult was for one reason, because of this card. Back in the old days, it just read as the most powerful card in the entire game, but it just didn't have the suite to back it up, right? Red in the Ledger, you can only take one action next turn if it hits. Insane on-hit effect. And again, that card and that card alone and the art and the domination that's displayed on that art is what got a lot of people into Azalea, despite her being bad back in the old days. But now she's pretty good. We are going to see that reload off of the Not the Death Whistle, and now we are going to see the Azalea activation, getting that Red in the Ledger into the arsenal with Dominate. It looks like we are going to be seeing that come in for 8 damage when this is all said and done. 8 damage is nothing to be sniffed at on turn 1, especially when it's got a load of evasion behind it. That being said, obviously, Shadow Rune Blades in general, do have access to some other cool cards like Haunting Rendition, which is something that can be used to prevent damage and something that can be used to get round some Dominate, but I don't think you're going to be able to get round 8 Dominate on the first turn unless there's equipment there. And we are seeing a Haunting Rendition actually being discarded or used to block this damage here. So yeah, it looks like Jay's just going to use it as a block, which makes sense because obviously that's where the value is at the moment. And yeah, just taking 4 damage, getting an inertia token. Only going to be able to play 1 action next turn. But the thing is with Vynnset as well is even when you're under the effects of Red in the Ledger and stuff like that, Jay hasn't even started building the engine for Vynnset yet. So he might even be happy just to see that damage come in, that 1 action come in when you're still trying to establish a board state and a rune chant engine. And we are seeing a Succumb to Temptation banished through the Vynnset trigger. So that's going to create 1 rune chant. And we're off to the races there. Lynette also getting that Red in the Ledger in the grave as well for Codex later on. And we are going to see a Malefic Incantation here, which is the 1 action for the turn, which I'm sure Jay is happy with, getting that on board early. We have seen a lot of games in the past from Jay where he hasn't been able to get those Malefics, and we know how key that is to the engine of Vynnset as a whole. Just being able to generate rune chants on attack is very, very good. Or attack action, I should say. But yeah, having to shuffle away that hand and arsenal. Well, shuffle away the hand. There was no arsenal established there, but not being able to keep any cards. It goes over to Lynette. Just putting the pitch from the previous turn on the bottom of the deck there. Easily forgotten, no worries. This is a league that means nothing after all. We are going to see a Death Dealer activation, pitching a yellow bolt and shot. Loading in a Remorseless and drawing a card, so there's still 1 floating here. Remorseless, very, very good against those heroes that want to play multiple actions. And Vynnset can be privy to that, but we are seeing a Lace of Bloodrot come in here. So this Remorseless is going to come in for 8 at least. Maybe more if you count the damage that Bloodrot can do and the damage that Remorseless can do as well. But it looks like the net just going to be firing a 8 damage salvo at Vynset's way, just keeping hold of a card at least, 2 cards at least, to be able to arsenal one of those and get that Skullbone Crosswrap online. And Jay just happy to say, yep, I'm going to block. And this is exactly what I said. I think I said this at the top of the show, where Vynnset is a good blocker, because she can just block a load of stuff, banish a card, get a rune chant, and then potentially send something out of banish, which is exactly what's going to happen here. Is Jay's going to be swinging back with a Deathly Delight, so 2 rune chants and then 5 physical coming in, and obviously the chance of gaining some life back off of this as well. And we are seeing the rune chant being generated off of the Malefic there, but if Deathly Delight hits, well, when the combat chain closes, gain life equal to the number of heroes that have lost life this turn. So if this hits or Lynette takes any damage, Jay is going to gain 1 life back. And that's the turn cycles that Vynnset and Vynnset can get into here, is just block a load of cards and then send a card back with split damage, which is just a bit of a pain in the ass for Azalea to deal with because she is quite red heavy. So that's what Lynette was just pointing out back there, was the AB that's available on board through the Skullbone and the Bullseye Bracers. Bullseye Bracer's got a cool little border on it. I'm not sure what that's from. Altar Sleeve, maybe? Not entirely sure. It's on the Death Dealer and the Azalea as well, by the looks of it. But we are going to be pitching an Amplifying Arrow to get rid of those rune chants, so they're not going to go anywhere. We are still seeing that 5 physical come in. If there is any life lost, which there isn't, Jay's not going to gain any life back. And that is all good. Forcing 2 cards from Azalea's hand. The Tunic is going to be live on this next turn. So at least you can draw a card off of that Tunic for free, which is pretty powerful, as we all know. Death Dealer, another reason why a lot of Azalea players love playing Azalea, because drawing cards is good. But we are going to see the first Skullbone activation. Looking at the top card of the deck, that was a very, very quick glance. We are going to activate Azalea to access whatever that card is. It is an Endless Arrow. Not bad. Endless Arrow being a old school card, which gives you that same feeling as Ponders, because it just goes back into your hand and then you fill your arsenal up with it. And we are just seeing a vanilla Take Aim being played here. So not using the Tunic this turn, just making use of the resource-free cards that we're seeing here and the potential of filling the arsenal back up with the Endless Arrow on hit. Because obviously that will go back to hand and allow Lynette to arsenal it, which obviously allows you to continue that Skullbone train if you're looking for the Dominate. Jay still sitting pretty with a load of armor at the bottom there. And of course, defensive tools like Sink Below, filtering what you need. That's what he's going to be doing, just sinking and drawing. Seeing what he can craft for the next turn. And the rest is coming in for 3 damage here, threatening the arsenal. But we are going to see a Haunting Rendition being discarded, so it looks like we are going to be soaking up 6 in total and taking 1 damage. That does mean that we do get a rune chant off of that Haunting Rendition, and the Endless Arrow is going to return to Lynette's hand, which she is going to be able to arsenal. So that's always good for the Skullbone, of course. That's what we had to use back in the day to refill our arsenals, Endless Arrows. We didn't have no Ponders, no Codexes, nothing like that back in the old days. We are going to see a Vynnset banishing away a Shadow Puppetry and looking like Jade is going to be arsenaling and passing here. Just again, Vynnset able to take these turns just to set up a little bit. Still got the buffer of the armor and the engine slowly being built. The net's now resolving that Skullbone Crosswrap to have a look. So the Endless Arrow doing duty here as an Opter. Looks like we are going to access that card through Azalea, which is going to be a buff, which is great when you've got Tunic up. So it looks like this is going to be a large turn from Lynette now, using that Tunic to potentially add a card in for free and draw a card is going to be quite big here, I think. So a Lace with Inertia coming in, a Seek and Destroy coming in, a Take Aim coming in, reloading a card. All right. What is the card that she's reloaded there? She's obviously choosing not red in the ledger with the Tunic. Okay, all right. So being able to keep a card back here for the arsenal is pretty good. And that's a large red in the ledger coming in at Jay. That's coming in for 14 damage with some hand and arsenal disruption in the form of Lace of Inertia and Seek and Destroy. It's not very nice to stare down that something of that magnitude. Just going to see how Jay responds to this large arrow, affecting not only next turn but the turn after as well through the arsenal and hand disruption. We are going to see a block of 6. Just thinking of chucking the Dyadic under there as well, which blocks for 2. No, looks like we are just going to be blocking for 6 initially. And that's going to come through for a lot of damage. It's going to come through for 8. 2 blocks for 6. Going to suffer a multitude of on-hits here as well. Depending on what Jay's got in hand, you might just be able to throw a big salvo back with those rune chants that are generating. But we are seeing a reduced to rune chant from the arsenal, which of course is going to create a rune chant on the back end and also block for an additional 4. So we are blocking 10 right now. So blocking 10. And then a sink below to cleanly block the 14 damage. Wow. That is pretty good. Oh, sorry. No, he's taking 1. Maybe it was 5 block there with the cards underneath. So 5 and 8. So maybe it was just wasn't enough. But regardless, I've missed that, but there we go. But we are going to see a banish from Vynnset, which then is just going to be sent in immediately. So again, Jay being able to soak up a load of damage without using any armor at all, creating a rune chant off of the back end of this widespread, and now threatening interaction with cards in hand. So obviously when the combat chain closes, each hero who's lost life this turn banishes a card from their hand. So Azalea probably doesn't want to be trying to block anything here, so the likelihood is that she is going to have to lose a card from hand. It's just that simple, which will affect a lot of things. And Lynette just choosing to take the rune chants up front, so she is going to be banishing a card from hand on resolution of this widespread. Coming in for 6. Jay's first bit of damage through on Lynette is that of the arcane kind. Which I imagine will be a running theme this game. Azalea does have access to 2AB, but obviously not too many options to pitch into that effectively. Still thinking about this large 6 attack coming in from this widespread. Being made absolutely free through that rune gate mechanic. Seems so long ago where we had that introduced, but yep, Lynette's just going to be taking all that damage there. And now banishing a card as well from hand, which I believe is a bolt and shot. Can't quite see that there. It is a bolt and shot, yep, red one being banished as a result of the widespread. And now Jay has pulled ahead a little bit with 4 cards in hand. Still a large suite of armor. So this could now start opening up for Jay if Lynette can't get dominates through, because Jay still does have a lot of armor to lean on, and that might give him the option to just start getting into this now. We are going to see the Skullbone reveal a Codex of Frailty, which Lynette is deciding whether or what she wants to do with that. And this is where you start to get a little bit scared as an Azalea player, because you've just chucked a 14 red in the ledger and it's done nothing. Jay just blocked out a load of it and then sent back a load of damage which interacted with your next turn. So it's just scary to play against these Vynsets for that reason. And we know more interaction is coming. Obviously, the widespreads themselves do a lot of interaction. We know there's Cull. We know there's other cards that do stuff. The Succumbs as well can strip cards away. So Runeblade does have, especially with the Shadow Suite and the Runeblade Suite, quite a lot of interaction that you have to contend with alongside the big armors and the D-reacts that the Vynnset has, and the blocks like the Runeblade blocks that you've seen already. But we are seeing another Not Death Whistle here, so it looks like we are going to be able to get something dominated into our arsenal, which looks like we are fetching a Remorseless here. Remorseless is a fantastic card also for getting round defenses, because obviously it has that face-up text where the D-reacts can't be used from the arsenal. So if you feel like there's a D-react stuck in someone's arsenal, you can try and get this to try and leak some damage. There is no arsenal established in this case, though, so it's just coming in for 8 with Dominate, pitching a hamstring shot. Coming in with Dominate. And obviously, on the back end, this is going to hurt Jay every time he plays an action card next turn. We are seeing a block of 3, taking 5, going down to 29 apiece. And the only on hit we have to worry about now is the on play of a card, take a damage, or lose a life, I should say. with that, goes over to J Maia's turn. Quite an international match of Flesh and Blood we got today. We've got Lynette from New Zealand and Jay from Canada. So that's one other thing the players have to contend with when organising their games is time zones, people. But we are seeing a Vynnset trigger here, getting rid of a Deathly Delight, playing another Malefic Incantation, taking damage to the Remorseless trigger. That starts with 2 counters on it, 2 verse counters on it. And we are going to see that Deathly Delight come in, losing a life from the Remorseless, coming in for 2 and 6. Sorry, 5. But the great thing about this is that obviously Jay has lost life this turn through the Remorseless, so Deathly Delight is actually going to give him a life back here because he's already lost life from Remorseless. So that's definitely going to trigger, and it just means that if Lynette loses life here as well, Jay is actually going to gain 2 off of this rather than just 1. So I imagine Jay is going to get 2 life off of this transaction here because, again, I don't think Azalea is going to want to have to block all of this 7. Obviously 2 damage sources as well. We got 2 1s and a 5. So it's going to be interesting to see how Lynette deals with this, but Jay still got 1 card in hand as well, which he can arsenal. But yeah, Lynette just taking all of the damage, and we are starting to see that life creep, that life gap, extend a little bit further now with that 2 life gained as well on the back end. And Jay choosing not to arsenal there. Is that correct? Maybe. There was a card face down, so maybe there was a choice not to arsenal there, which is interesting. But we are seeing a take aim, reloading in a mystery card, using the crossbow, the Skullbone Crosswrap to flip up that reloaded card, which is a hamstring. So have a look at the top card. Nice little interaction there from reloading mechanics is that you can still activate your Crosswrap once you've reloaded something in, because it reloads it in face down, so that's always something worth remembering. Not sure for how long, because obviously Azalea is teetering on Living Legend now. It's going to be a sad time, but we are seeing another release attention. So at the moment, not really threatening any on-hits off of the buffs, because release tension, it doesn't really matter because there's no Arsenal card. But we are going to be seeing a hamstring shot come in, which does have some implications into Vynnset, because Vynnset doesn't really like to pay for the big Runegate cards, and hamstring shot just says your next attack action costs 1 more to play. So that does... Well, their first attack, I should say. Their first attack in general costs 1 less to play. So that does throw a little bit of a spanner in the works of the Runegate mechanic, because that's the whole point of the Runegate mechanic, is you want to get things banished away so they can cost nothing, but hamstring shot giving Jay something to think about a little bit here in the fact that the attack is going to cost 1 more. Nothing to be sniffed at as well. 11 damage coming in here. 5 on the arrow from 6. But we are going to see a full block here of... Sorry, not a full block. We are going to see a block of 8. Oh, okay, I spoke too soon. We are going to see a full block with the reduced to rune chant, creating a rune chant on the back end and blocking for the full amount, which is 12 being blocked there by the dyadic 2 3s and a 4. So that is fully blocked. And Jay leaning on a piece of equipment there. 1 card still in hand, which is obviously going to be banished to Vynnset to create a rune chant. So that's going to be a Phantom Wraith or Banshee, one of the 2. And then we are just going to see that come in. It is a Wraith. I was right the first time. So 4 and 6 coming in here, and this is exactly what I said at the top of the show. We are starting to fall into that mid-range game now, which Azalea just doesn't want to fall into, because she doesn't want to block, doesn't want to take damage, and now we're seeing, if no blocks are given here, a very large life lead being developed. And yep, Azalea not wanting to block, going down to 12 against 29 here. Looks like Tunic is going to be available this turn, though, so you might be able to string some big turn together. But Jay probably happy in his position right now as this life gap extends. We are going to see an Endless Arrow being put into the arsenal for free, drawing a card, so at least we know that this costs no resources. So if we do have a bunch of buffs here, we can just fire a big arrow. But what is going to happen here, we will see. Azalea not been activated yet. Jay still been able to lean on some face pergs, some creepers, and some other bits. But we are seeing a large arrow come in. So currently at 10, +3 from the Lace of Inertia. Sorry, Lace of Frailty, +3 from the Premeditate, +3 from the Read the Glide Path. Is there going to be an arrow on top that we can use for Dominate? Need to start leaking some Dominate through. Try and get some damage in. Jay is just happy to block and banish, and just send in stuff for free, play that mid-range game. We are seeing a bolt and shot come in, which is going to be 3-3-3-3. So it's going to be a 12 dominate. With go again, reload on hit. So if there is another 0 cost in hand, we could be able to fire that off as well, perhaps. But yep, 12 dominate, again, nothing to be sniffed at. Got the Frailty on hit, which probably doesn't really matter. The only thing that really affects is the Flail of Agony right now in this particular scenario. We are going to get the Ponder on hit as well, which means it will give Lynette a little bit of selection as to what card she wants to put in the arsenal. Obviously, there's one still left in hand. Of course, we do still have a reload off of the back of this if it hits as well. So if that is a 0 cost in hand, we can still fire that as well, because this does have go again. Still do have access to the bullseye braces as well, so if it doesn't hit, if this is a 0 cost in hand, we can still put something in there and fire it off with +1. So it all depends on what that card is in hand. If it's a Codex, we might be able to... I think we've got some 0 costs in the graveyard. We've got the Endless Arrow in the graveyard, I think. No, that was in Arsenal at the start of the turn, wasn't it? I think. Azalea did it away. But we'll see what happens. Still a couple of things you can do on the end of this combat chain, dependent on what is in hand. And Jay thinking long and hard about this. Coming in for 12 dominate. It's quite a lot. The only real on hit is the Frailty. Ponder doesn't really matter because she's already got a card in hand. So it's a lot of damage though. Obviously it's dominated as well, so Jay could be thinking about whether he wants to try and soak up some damage here through the face perg, whether he wants to use the face perg's ability to discard that card which is in Lynette's hand, depending on the hand composition. Might be another shout that he's thinking about right now. Looks like we are going to see a block of a Funeral Moon. Maybe even playing the Funeral Moon. No, just blocking with it. Yeah, blocking with it and then taking the rest. So blocking 3, taking 9, getting a Frailty. Should be a Frailty, not an Inertia. Yeah, that's a Lace with Frailty, not Inertia. So hopefully that's caught. Because, yeah, he shouldn't be inertiaed. Yeah, there's the flash up that I created. Created inertia when it should be a Frailty. So could be relevant. We'll see. This is a league that means nothing, so mistakes are made. So it doesn't really matter as long as we all learn from it as time goes on and we rewatch the videos, etc. But yeah, that should be a inertia. A Frailty rather than an Inertia. So the Ponder is going to trigger, and Lynette again being able to choose which one of those cards goes into the arsenal. And getting a big chunk of life down there from Jay. We are going to see an Eloquent Eulogy banished to the Vynnset, creating a rune chant. Deadwood Dirge, pretty good card. Getting rid of one of those rune chants to create some more. We are seeing the Eloquent Eulogy come in for 4 and 5, which is pretty good. Should it be 5? Should it be 4? There was 2, wasn't there? There was 2 rune chants. You sack one off to get 3. So maybe it should be 4 there. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. But I think he got 2. He was on 2. I don't know. Leave a comment in the section below. Pretty sure that should be 4, though. But anyway, 4 and 5 coming in here. Still a lot for Azalea to contend with. Jay being on the play with this life gap is not something you want to be backed into a corner against, especially with all this split damage. And Lynette just looking at the quiver here to see what that can do. I believe it's Spell Void 1, essentially, but if you have a face-up arrow, it's Spell Void 2. So she could cash that in to protect herself against one of these rune chants, and then maybe try and pitch away the rest. Pretty sure that's what the quiver does. I think it just Spell Voids 1. If there's a face-up arrow, Spell Void 2, basically. So you destroy it. You destroy the piece to get rid of the 1 or get rid of the 2. But she's going to be taking all the rune chants. Still coming in for 4 here. Just doing a little bit of a life check just to make sure. But there's a lot going on in these games. Webcam games are always a little bit harder to communicate with your opponent sometimes, and mistakes can be made, especially when you're playing different corners of the world as well. Different habits form. Easily done. But still staring down a 4 physical attack on the end of this Eloquent Eulogy. Looks like we are going to be cashing in that tunic just to preserve some life here, getting rid of a hamstring shot and a tunic, blocking that eulogy fully. We are going to cull as well. All right, okay. And of course, Lynette has lost life this turn because she took some damage from the rune chant, which means this is being able to be played at instant speed. Just having to banish a card from hand. And again, one of those cards that we mentioned already. Azalea doesn't like to have her hand taken away. Really does detract from that offense that she needs to be putting out in spades. Or in aces, I should say, not spades. But there we go. We are going to see the net start off with a Skullbone Crosswrap activation, revealing a Spire Sniping. So we're going to be able to look at the top cards here and rearrange them so we can get something that we want to craft with the Azalea activation into our arsenal. Whether that's a buff, whether that's something else. That's the beauty of why Azalea players love Azalea, is the lines that you can get off the top of your deck through that information revealed. Yeah, we're going to see the Azalea activation here. What are we accessing? It is a Dominated Bolt and Shot yellow. Or red. I can't actually see here. I think it's a red, actually. Still not cashed in on the Snappies or the Bullseyes yet, either. We are going to see a Premeditate come before this. So it looks like it's going to be a 7 go again. 7 go again, Dominate on hit reload. Yep. 7 go again, Dominate, on hit, reload, on hit, ponder. With a card still in hand. So a potential follow-up. 1 card in hand, yep, that's what's being signaled at the moment. And this bolt and shot should be 7, not 6, because it's a red one. So +3 from the Premeditate, and then obviously its base of 4 equals 7, so that should be a 7 coming in. But again, things are easily missed. It's all good. The league means nothing after all. This is all for fun. None of these players are going to be getting any prizes at the end of this. It's just all for fun. And the clout of saying, oh yeah, I won a league that means nothing. Brilliant. But we are going to see a gesture towards a Succumb being used to block. It's going to block 3. We are going to see the Haunting Rendition being used to take 2 damage prevention. So it looks like we're blocking 5 right now, and well, looks like we're going to be taking 3 then. So obviously this is going to be buffed up to On board, it should be, yeah, it's going to be 8, should be 9. But hey-ho, we're going to be taking 3 from that. Lynette is going to be able to get a ponder, a reload trigger, which obviously means nothing because she had the rain razors in hand. So Jay just leaking a little bit more damage there through Dominate. But 10 life differential going into Jay's turn with only 2 cards being used defensively seems pretty good. We know there's a lot of Rune Gate 2-cost cards which Jay can just send back, and at this point those Rune Gates are going to be big. And yep, here we go. A Banshee puts a rune chance up to 2. So it'll probably be able to threaten lethal this turn. Yep, using the Vexing Quill Hand to bring that up to 4. And a Sonata Galaxia. Okay, alright. So that's going to be searching for something with cost 2. By the look of it. X plus X. Going to be getting a Runeblood Incantation. So just solidifying that engine even more with a constant tick up or tick down of the verse counters to get a rune chant every single turn for the next 3 turns. Just shoring up that engine as the Malefics are now gone. And now coming in for lethal with 4 rune chants and 7 damage. And that's the mid-range, isn't it? It's the J blocking with 2 cards and then sending back 11 damage. That's just the turn cycle value there. I'm not going to pretend that I know what that phrase even means. The turn cycle value is pretty good there. So Lynette just happy to take the 4 rune chance, go down to 3, and still contending with a 7 power physical attack, Shadow Runeblade action, Phantom Banshee coming in. As an Azalea player, you do not want to be backed into these corners. You do not want to be forced to block. But this is where we're at right now. This is where we're at. And Jay just pointing out Vynset's ability. I imagine something to do with the fact that it can be made unpreventable as well. Just another thing that Lynette does have to worry about is the unpreventable rune chant damage. But there's a lot more worry on the table right now for the Azalea player, as you're forced into blocking a large attack with this Phantom Banshee coming in for 7, being forced to block cleanly with 2 3s and a 1. Azalea having no armor left on board now to block with, and the snappies and the bullseyes looking very sad over there, having not been used this entire game so far. Sometimes that just happens. There's not a window to really utilize those pieces of equipment. We are seeing another Not the Death Whistle, which I think is the 3rd one now. Go and search out for a card which will have Dominate. It looks like if she searches for a 1-cost arrow, that's the only thing she's going to be able to fire this turn, because obviously there's only 1 card available in hand to use for pitch. There's no buffs behind this, unless, of course, you get a 0 cost, which it is a 0 cost. It's a Searing Shot, so that leads me to believe that the card in hand is a buff of some description. But yeah, I mean, this is just going to be threatening damage on Jay's behalf, and with that life lead, probably not really going to respect it right now. This is going to come in for 8 damage in total with the buff that is probably in hand. Should put Jay down to 9 life, depending on what else he wants to block with on this cycle. But yeah, the Searing Shot's going to go on top. We are going to play a buff by the looks of it. We're going to activate Azalea first. get the searing shot in. That is going to have dominate, so we are going to be able to leak some damage, but again, damage is not the thing we need to play for here, unfortunately, but we are going to see a lace of inertia, and then the searing shot come in for 7 physical damage. But obviously on hit, it's going to Jay's going to lose 1 life. So again, depending on the hand composition, Jay just probably going to soak up some damage and then just rune gate himself senseless. He's going to be able to get 2 rune chants on board immediately because of the rune blood incantation and the banish from Vynnset giving him 1. So he's actually going to be able to get 2. Going to be taking the rest of the damage here, getting an inertia token as well. But yeah, going to start off the turn going to 2 rune charms immediately through Vynnset and the incantation. And that's just a tough spot for Lynette to be in here. Yeah, banishing a Cull, which is going to create a rune chant. And obviously should be ticking down that incantation. So should be 2 rune chants on board now. That's what we're seeing. I'm just going to fire off a Deathly Wail, actually paying for this one. Just wanting to cash it in immediately. Throwing that Deathly Wail for 2 and 5. And this is where you start stripping the hand of Azalea now by just clear necessity to survive, right? $12, playing 3 with 7 on the table. Not looking good for Lynette's Azalea. And again, if anyone loses life this turn as well, the Cull can be played at instant speed, right? So that's another card that's just going to be stripped away. I think it's if any hero has lost life this turn. Yeah, that's what Jay is signaling now, right? So pitching away the AB and blocking for 6. Yeah, getting rid of that, blocking for 6. But that is the full hand of Lynette away there. Cull is going to deal 1 damage to Jay through the Blood Debt. Looks like it's just going to be a pass back over to Jay now, who's going to banish the Widespread Annihilation and tick down the incantation to go up to 2 rune chants every turn, at least for the next turn or so. I'm going to see a Deathly Wail again being pitched for to come in, this time for 6 and 2. So AB with the Rain Rays is getting rid of the 2 rune chants. And Lynette going to have to block with 2 cards again here. They have to be 3 blocks as well to not suffer any damage. It looks like that's what we're going to see. And we are going to cull that last card away. We are going to take a damage from the Vynnset trigger. And that is pretty much that. Taking the damage off of the Vynnset trigger there, off of the coal, just to create that rune chant off of the Deathly Wail. Pretty sick little interaction. That's what's being explained right now. And for some reason, yeah, actually that's just been corrected by the life totals there. But Jay fully in the driving seat right now as he looks to close off this game, stripping the hand of Azalea every single turn. Just remembering the blood debt as well from the previous turn there. We are going to go into the turn banishing a Deathly Wail to get a rune chant, and then the last Rune Chant should come off the Rune Blood incantation, putting him up to 4. And coming in with another Deathly Wail for 4 and 6. This is where it's going to get dicey, because all of those Rune Chants need to be AB'd now. Yeah. That's it. That is the game. That is the game. So, congratulations to Jay. Fantastic way to open up the campaign for the League That Means Nothing Season 4. Returning champion coming back to win the first game here. And as I mentioned, I think it's always a tough one for Azalea to get through all of that. And once you get into that mid-range battle, it's quite hard, because the Vynnset can soak up a lot of damage, but also then just deal damage back. And those cycles that you get into are quite hard, I think. And again, a lot of Azalea's tools don't really matter against Vynnset, really, because Vynnset can just block for 9 and then send back a 11, like we saw on that one turn. But congratulations to Jay, going into round 2, 1-0. Unfortunately, Lynette, hopefully we can see you pick up the steam on round 2. But that's pretty much it for this round of the League That Means Nothing, or this game in round 1 of the League That Means Nothing. Thanks to all of our sponsors. And we'll see you to do it all over again very, very soon on the channel. That's it. Cheers, folks. Goodbye.